Good day, everyone. Today I am going to continue the report of Ms. Rochelle Sadavia. First, let me introduce myself. I am Ms. Ryan Danega, and my topic is combating global warming. More countries are now recognizing the perils of global warming. Today, the impact of global warming are being felt across the globe. Extreme heat waves have caused us 10,000 deaths in the world. The next slide, you will see the video how impact the global warming in the world and the causes and its effect.
For 2.5 million years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated, cycling from ice ages to warmer periods. But in the last century, the planet's temperature has risen unusually fast, about 1.2 to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists believe it's human activity that's driving the temperatures up, a process known as global warming. Ever since the Industrial Revolution began, factories, power plants, and eventually cars have burned fossil fuels such as oil and coal, releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases trap heat near the Earth through a naturally occurring process called the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect begins with the sun and the energy it radiates to the Earth. The Earth and the atmosphere absorb some of this energy, while the rest is radiated back into space. Naturally occurring gases in the atmosphere trap some of this energy and reflect it back, warming the Earth. Scientists now believe that the greenhouse effect is being intensified by the extra greenhouse gases that humans have released. Evidence for global warming includes a recent string of very warm years. Scientists report that 1998 was the warmest year in measured history, with 2005 coming in second. Meanwhile, readings taken from ice cores show that the greenhouse gases carbon dioxide and methane have hit their highest levels in the past 420,000 years. Arctic sea ice is also shrinking. According to NASA studies, the extent of Arctic sea ice has declined about 10% in the last 30 years. As long as industrialized nations consume energy and developing countries increase their fossil fuel consumption, the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere will continue to rise. Researchers predict that temperatures will increase about 2 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century. What's less certain is what rising temperatures mean for the planet. Some climate models predict subtle changes. Others forecast rising sea levels which could flood coastal areas around the world. Weather patterns could change, making hurricanes more frequent. Severe droughts could become more common in warm areas, and species unable to adapt to the changing conditions would face extinction. Although much remains to be learned about global warming, many organizations advocate cutting greenhouse gas emissions to reduce the impact of global warming. Consumers can help by saving energy around the house, switching to compact fluorescent light bulbs, and driving fewer miles in the car each week. These simple changes may help keep the Earth cooler in the future.
As you can see through the video, the global warming is an aspect of climate change, and the number one cause of global warming is the human activity, and primarily with the burning of fossil fuels that pump into carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases, and the deforestation. That is why in 1997, 192 countries signed the Kyoto Protocol to reduce the greenhouse gases, and then followed by in 1992 United Nations Earth Summit, where a framework convention for climate change was finalized. These protocols set the targets but left it to each individual countries to determine how best they would achieve these goals, while other countries have made a necessary move to reduce their contribution to global warming. Next. Through the participation and other effort of every country have made to reduce the global warming, the United States, the biggest polluter in the world, is not joining the effort, and there are countries that also kulag pundo para implement ang protocol guidelines. That is why in 2010 World Bank report thus concluded that the protocol only had a slight impact on the reducing global emissions in the part because of the non-binding nature of the agreement. After the Kyoto Protocol is the Paris Accord, negotiated by 195 countries in December of 2015. It seeks to limit the increase in the global average temperature based on targeted goals as recommended by the scientists. Paris Accord provides leeway or agianan to other country to decide on their national targets, while the Kyoto Protocol which has predetermined the carbon dioxide emission limits per country. And then it largely passed as international legislation because it emphasizes consensus building, but di pa ni siya klaro kung ang Paris Accords is more successful than Kyoto Protocol. That is why in South Africa, communities engage in environmental activism to pressure industries to reduce emissions to the lobby our parliament for the passage of pro-environment laws. After the Also, across the Atlantic in El Salvador, local officials and grassroots organizations from 1,000 communities push for crop diversification, a reduction of industrial sugarcane production, the protection of endangered sea species from the devastating effects of commercial fishing, the preservation of downloads being eroded by deforestation, up in rivers, and inconsistent release of water from the nearby dam. Aside from the South Africa, across the Atlantic in El Salvador, universities also partners with the governments in producing attainable programs of controlling pollution, such as the University of Chicago's Energy Policy Institute sent teams to India to work with government offices, businesses, and communities in coming up with a viable ground level projects that strike a balance between urgently needed economic growth and improved air quality. When these local alliances between the state, school, and communities are being replicated at the national level, the success becomes doubly significant. In Japan, pollution pressure forced the government to work with civil society groups, academia, and political parties to get the parliament to pass a blizzard of laws. 14 passed at once, in what became known as the Pollution Diet of 1970. These regulations did not eliminate environmental problems, but today, Japan has some of the less polluted cities in the world.